Welcome to the Follow the Leader podcast, brought to you by Inkwell Printing. We want to thank Inkwell for being our sponsor. They're going to be our sponsor for, I believe, the 2017 year. So we just want to thank them. But I am Kirk McCracken, the managing editor of the Sand Springs Leader, and with me is
Rusty Gunn,
the pastor of Church That Matters. This is our third podcast, Rusty. How do you feel the first two went?
They were great. Had a great time. Great athletes, and they were great personalities. A lot of fun just to talk to, and really just conversational.
Yeah. This week we have our first coach on, and I hope it becomes more of a thing because Kelly Smith he's an outspoken guy. He's a Sandite. He went to school here, and now he's the head wrestling coach. And this podcast, we're going to talk about wrestling. I know you're a big fan of all Sand Springs sports, but you follow wrestling pretty close as well. How do you feel like the team is doing so far this year?
Obviously rocking it right now. Having success in tournaments, having success in their first duel, and individually, man, just seeing some great things happen in some of these guys' lives.
Yeah, and they've got Daton Fix, obviously back. He's a senior, and he's competing for his fourth straight state title, which
pretty
is
incredible.
Never happened at Sand Springs that I know of. We're going to have him on tonight. We're going to have on Beau Bratcher, a fellow senior, who's the nephew of Kelly Smith. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think so too. Let's do it.
All right. We're here with. We're actually going to do a wrestling podcast this week. This week we've got our first coach.
Pro wrestling. I love.
No, not pro wrestling. Amateur wrestling. Is that what we call it? Amateur wrestling? Is that what it's?
Yeah, that'll work.
Basically, we've got our first coach ever on our podcast. We've got Kelly Smith, head coach of the Sand Springs high school wrestling team. We've got Beau Bratcher and Daton Fix with us. We're going to talk a little bit about wrestling. But first of all, I want to talk about this year so far. So far this year, the guys are ranked number 2. Still number 2, is that correct?
Number 2 in duels. We're ranked number 1 in tournaments.
Okay, all right. So far, 1-0 in duels. We beat Owasso pretty handily. Won the Perry tournament. Placed third, Kansas City Stampede. So far, Daton's been named outstanding wrestler in both tournaments. So, we wanted to. We've talked about girls basketball. We talked about football. So now we want to talk about wrestling. So last year was a pretty successful year. Placed third at state. Had 10 state qualifiers, 6 state placers. I could go through the list. I actually listed them, but there's so many of them. So basically, Daton won his third straight state title last year. Beau placed second. Jack Carstetter placed second. We've got Zane Basma third, Blake Sargent third, and Peyton Scott fourth.
Yep.
So basically, Coach, you've been the head coach for how many years now?
I think this is my 17th season.
Okay. How does this team rank in all of the teams that you've been head coach of? But Beau says number 1.
Yeah.
Daton says number 1.
Every team is different, and we've had some teams that weren't real good that we knew we got everything out of those kids, and those are obviously special years too. But, yeah, you're going wins and losses and the type of character kids we have right now. It's just a great group. And the neat thing is, and it's been played out probably over the last 3 years, but it's kind of a family-oriented team with Derek and Daton and Jack and Cody being there, and obviously Beau being my nephew. It just makes it a fun work environment for me.
So, Beau, last year you finished second. You made it to the finals. How important is it for you to win an individual? I know that you guys are more team-oriented, but it's both. It's individual and team.
Yeah, for sure.
How important is that to you?
It's everything. Last year I put everything into it, came up a little short, but I'm not letting that eat at me. I'm just staying focused, and I'm not going to make the same mistakes twice.
Cool.
Kelly, speaking of just kind of the past and going, I've gone to several tournaments with you guys over the years, and we've had some incredible meals together.
We have.
Yeah, and so tell me, of all of those meals and all of those times, where's the best place that I've taken you to eat?
Obviously, when we went to the OU game, the place in Noble, Oklahoma, the 5-pound chicken fried steak made a big impact on me.
5?
It was bigger than the plate. His was. Mine, I got the half order, and it was pretty good.
Did he finish it though?
No, I don't think he did.
I don't know. I
I'm
probably
trying to
did.
be nice there. The place we ate in Springfield, obviously, I can't remember the name. That was a good place to eat.
Right on. Good times.
I'm all about the food. That's what makes a good trip.
Okay, speaking of food, cutting weight is a big deal. You and I have talked about this
Sure.
in the past. We did a story about it. It's something that you're very upfront about. It's something that you want to be done safely, healthy. I want all three of you guys to kind of talk a little bit about that. I know some people say, "Oh, it's dangerous," blah blah blah, but it's part of the sport, and it's something
It
that
is.
you take very serious. So, talk a little bit about your experience with that and how you talk to the guys about it.
Well, wrestling here and growing up, and my parents were very involved with my career also, and I'm sure there were times where my mother absolutely disagreed with the way my father
does.
handled some of that. Still does, yeah, even with Beau. Times have changed. I mean, these kids are put on a body fat machine at the beginning of the year. It tells them a safe level to get down to 7%. But with that being said, they still got to eat right and do things right. And the crazy thing is they all still do pull weight a little different. And these two guys are probably the best example because Daton definitely pulls weight different than Beau does. So they can kind of tell you how they do it. When I was growing up, we probably didn't always do it the best, and it's probably what gave wrestling a bad name. But it is definitely taken more serious now. It's definitely monitored a lot better, and I know it's a healthier way, and my kids will be better for it if he chooses to stay with wrestling.
What were some of those methods in the past that were
Well,
were
I
used?
mean, obviously the plastics and rolling up in mats.
Oh, yeah.
and some
I've
of
seen
those.
all that.
I mean, I could run for. Well, Coach Carstetter would send me outside in the cold, and I would run for 15, 20 minutes. And then when I walked back in that 98-degree room and rolled up in the mats and laid down, it was crazy on how much you could sweat off. Obviously, once you're dehydrated, you sweat less and less. And I think Daton will touch on that. That's why he does it a complete different way than what we did.
What's that look like for you, Daton?
So the way I cut weight is I drink as much water as I can, so I'm hydrated, and I'll drink a gallon and a half a day, especially during the summer because I cut a lot more weight during the summer. Like this summer, I wrestled 121
Jeez.
at Worlds, so I was cutting about 18, 20 pounds.
Well, I know when I was mowing Clyde Boyd this summer, and I was kind of whining about the hot weather, and I'm out there in shorts and T-shirt, and Daton comes running by, and it looks like midwinter. The clothes he's wearing, that'll tell you a lot. The biggest difference with Daton is we expect a heavyweight to come into practice and lose 8 to 10 pounds. That's not real unusual. Obviously, my body size in high school, if I lost 3 pounds, I was thrilled. Daton will lose as much as the heavyweight in one practice. Part of that being how much water he has in him. The other part being he never stops moving for an entire 2-hour practice.
Beau, what's that look like for you?
I started off with when I was more just on a diet, and I would drink a certain amount each day and then try and lose a little bit each practice. But I've kind of changed it now. I'm trying to drink more so I can lose more in practice, and it's starting to work. So I usually go about I'll usually drink about 32 ounces after practice, and maybe a little more. Usually no more than 40, and then I'll if I can lose about 3 to 4, then I usually will work that down slowly instead of just like him. He can bounce up. He'll weigh 41 practice and 38 that same practice. Like I can't do that. I'll probably lose if I lose 4, I'm usually happy with that at practice.
So when I was wrestling in high school down the road in Cushing, I never ever had to cut weight.
You're lucky.
I know, and so the guys in the at the lower weights, we're out, before
They didn't like
tournament,
you.
I'm just chowing down. I'm good. How do you like that when somebody's?
I mean, I got a little bit of that last year. I wrestled 45 last year like I am this year, but difference is I weighed about 42 then. So, I mean, we went to KCI last year, and this is when I decided that I needed to cut some weight because the night before, my grandma got me a steak dinner, and I was thinking, man, I'm liking this. And then the next couple of days when I had these guys that weighed about 60 to 70 whooping up on me, I was like, I'm not doing this again. I went on down to 38, and I ended up actually gaining weight from that. Ended up being a better size 38 pounder than I was before. But I think that's the one thing about cutting weight is if you're not doing it, I don't think you have an advantage, as big as an advantage. I mean, even at 45 now, I'm a pretty good size 45 pounder. I still get a hold of some guys that are 10 pounds bigger than me, which when they're down to weight isn't bad, but that last day of the tournament can get a little annoying.
You see how that caught up with me now, so we're all good.
Well, you talk about those guys, people thinking it's unhealthy how we do it and some things that happen there. I would definitely argue, these guys, what they put in their bodies through a wrestling team and through a wrestling season and how they train. I would argue these are the healthiest kids in the school. These guys eat right, they live right, they work hard, they're in shape. I mean, I would say there's nothing they're doing that's going to hurt them down the road.
Well, a couple of years ago, when I wanted to do the story about cutting weight for the leader, it was something that you hit head on. I mean, you didn't shy away from it. You weren't scared of it. I mean, there's some people that don't want to talk about it or whatever, but you were able to kind of list the healthy ways and how you encourage it. If you see that a kid's doing it the wrong way, how do you address that? How do you?
Well, it kind of takes care of itself because those kids that aren't doing it right, they'll be the ones that you're wondering why they're not in shape or why they look the way they look or their skin tone. They'll have more of a red skin tone and they can't make it why can Daton wrestle 6 minutes with no problem or Beau or, and these other guys are struggling. Those are the guys that probably didn't do it right. And a lot of times, like our first duel this year, you could see that in a couple of our guys, including Beau and those guys. The first time down is definitely tells the story, and from there on, it seems to pan out, and they look a lot better.
Cool. Now, if you guys aren't cutting weight, like whenever you're not in season, Beau wrestles 145. Mm-hmm. You're wrestling 132 this year, is that right? Mm-hmm. What are your weights generally? Is it close to that?
I weigh like 138 most of the time.
Okay.
138, 137.
But
so I'm not.
You're wrestling what next summer?
But this summer I'll wrestle 121 again.
Oh,
so.
okay. Wow, I can't.
Yeah.
Man. What about you?
Actually going into school, I weighed about 56 every day after, and I'm kind of back down to that now. But that off school lunch, that got me up to about 60 eating out every day. But then I fixed that after about mid-October. I changed up my diet a little bit, and that it went off on its own by the time I actually really started cutting weight.
Okay.
So kind of switching gears, Daton, OSU, you tell us about the process from a freshman. I think that was probably in your mind, just kind of the legacy there and following through with Oklahoma State, but there at least was some question in your mind, maybe.
Yeah.
Tell us about that process of choosing.
I mean, when you grow up in Oklahoma and you're a wrestler, that's just kind of that's where you want to be, and it was just really hard, like, because I wanted to commit really early, honestly, but I needed to make sure that was where I wanted to be, so I went on all my visits, and after that, Oklahoma State was still the place I wanted to be. So. And
I've heard you talk about this, but we have some people who didn't listen to that interview. Tell us about the other prospects for you, where that was. And
yeah, so I visited Penn State, Ohio State. I was looking at Nebraska and North Carolina. Those were the schools that I was looking at.
Who was the closest?
They're all good schools, so there wasn't really a clear second.
It's a very diplomatic answer.
So nice.
He's good at this.
So nice.
See, that's another thing.
So full of bull.
Now, for anyone listening that doesn't know Daton, he's not only the best wrestler in his weight class in the state, in the country. He's known all over the world. He wrestles all over the world. If that were me, I would be impossible to live with. I would be.
We know.
I basically am now, and I'm not good at anything. And I mean, if I answer the Final Jeopardy question right, I've got 2 weeks of just being a jerk. I mean, how do you stay so humble? I mean, it's so impressive to me because, like I said, if I were even close to that talent-wise, I wouldn't be able to fit through the door. My head would be so big. So how do you stay so humble?
I mean, wrestling's not gonna be there forever, and it could be gone tomorrow. So, and if it ends tomorrow, I still want to be a good person, and I'm just really grateful that I'm really good on the mat and I can wrestle. So, I don't want to be known for being good off the mat more than I want to be known for being good on the mat.
I'm telling you, if more athletes felt that way, I don't think we would have some of the stuff in the news that we do see. You know, I mean, to bring it up, you know, the Joe Mixon video, has been really popular lately. And as an OU fan, you know, I mean, it hurts to see stuff like that, but those things do happen. There are a lot of athletes out there that feel like they're not only above the law, but they, you know, they have this persona and this tough guy stuff. I mean, being wrestlers, you guys are tough. I mean, there's the only way to say it. I mean, wrestlers are tough. But I mean, you guys, I don't want to say the word sweethearts, but I mean, when you walk up to these guys, they're so nice. Beau is and Daton, and every time that I've asked them for a quote in the paper or whatever, they've always made time to do it. I want both of you guys to speak to that. I mean, it's one of those sports that can kind of be brutal. I mean, there have been some pretty brutal injuries. I mean, you're both sporting a shiner right now from I think the tournament. So talk a little bit about that, where you've got a sport that can be kind of brutal and tough, but yet you guys you have this persona where you're just nice guys off the mat.
Well, it's one thing that I think our coaches have always preached at us, and that's you know, as soon as you step on the mat, that 6 minutes, no one's your friend. But when, like, I know that happens a lot in the room, is we go at it hard and we'll be wrestling live and we'll get pretty fired up with each other, and that's just part of the sport. But as soon as that practice is over, as soon as we step off, you know, we're all buddies again, and I think we try and carry that over, and we want people to like us. You know, we don't want to be that team that everybody hates because they're all just a bunch of really rude guys and you don't really like talking to them. We want to be the team that you can't hate us because we're such good guys.
Yeah, Daton, same thing. I mean, same question basically.
Yeah, I mean, wrestlers, they're like stereotypical. They're supposed to be like jerks and real just mean bullies, but our team's completely different. We're probably one of the nicest teams in the state, honestly.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Your families have something to do with that. Both of your upbringings. Just
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about how how have they brought you up to kind of.
Yeah, I'm just really blessed to have a good family, and that they raised me right, and to respect everybody, and I'm just real grateful for that.
Same question with your family. I mean,
Well, you know, there's one thing with my family that, and Kelly says it best, and I thought Daton said it real earlier, is, you know, if wrestling's gone tomorrow, I don't want to be remembered as a wrestler. You know, I want to be a good person, and people think, like, when they see me walking down the street, they're like, oh, hey, Beau, and they're not saying it because they're saying hi because I'm a good dude and not because I'm a wrestler.
sure. Now, okay, we touched on family. That was a great segue too, by the way. This is for you two, for Beau and for Kelly. You guys are family. Is it harder? And answer both of you guys answer the question. Is it harder to coach or be coached by family? Like for you, Kelly, do you put more pressure on him, or do you notice that and try not to put that kind of pressure on
You know,
Beau?
really, I'm not sure. With Beau, you know, this has been incredible for me, and my family's very close, and it's not unusual to all meet at my mother's on Sunday. It's not unusual for us to be together. I'm talking 4 or 5 times a month as a family. So I thought we were close growing up. I didn't realize till I got him in high school that we weren't near as close as I thought. I mean, we have a great relationship. It's been a huge blessing for me. I'm always proud of all my guys that are good kids and good students, and wrestling's part of it too sometimes. But he's just an incredible kid, and it's been an absolute pleasure. And maybe my biggest fault with Beau is I don't put enough pressure on him, or I don't get on him enough sometimes, because I know he puts a lot on himself, and I know that he's his own worst critic sometimes, and I'm afraid that coming from his uncle that it would just double what he's feeling sometimes.
Sure.
So sometimes I probably should get a little harder on him, but sometimes I think it's better if I just stay back and let it be Beau and Uncle Kelly, and we're all good when it's over always.
Cool.
Who are the teams to? I'm sorry.
Hold on, I want Beau to answer this question.
Jumping in, all
What
right.
was the question again?
Just, I mean, about having family be your coach. You know, would you rather, and not would you rather, I mean, would it be easier to have someone be your coach that wasn't family?
You know, I think that's one thing I haven't had a coach that I haven't had a close relationship with. And so it almost always is like my coach is my family, and having a coach as my family, you know, I think I enjoy it more. I just like being able to, because we can talk wrestling on Sundays and we can not talk wrestling on Sundays. And that's just how we are. And that was one thing that I really enjoyed was, and like he said, we became a lot closer when I started wrestling for him, and it's always been fun. But he's such a nice guy that if I wasn't his nephew, he'd treat me like I was. You know what I mean? That's how he is with everybody, and that's how I think that's why our team's so close and why we always manage to have a good time.
Okay, now can I talk?
Yes, please.
So, obviously, again, going for the state title this year, who are the teams to beat? Who you guys, I mean, who's the target? What do you got to do? I know you have a target on your backs, obviously.
Oh, definitely.
But who's the target for you guys? Who do we have to really focus in on?
We want to beat Choctaw.
I'm with you
Choctaw.
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right on.
As far as duels, I know Broken Arrow is always tough. Stillwater's been tough in the past. Are those the teams that are still kind of up there? Has anybody jumped them? I mean, because Kelly and I have talked that although duels, they are important. I mean, regionals and state, that's the thing that you guys are focused on. But there's still a dual season. Are those two teams the teams that are still to beat, or?
I don't know as much as if we're gunning to beat them. I know definitely last year when we beat BA, that was the first time that we'd beat them in my high school career, and it felt really good because those were always the guys that we wanted to beat. But I think this year it's a little different. I don't really have anybody, because we don't duel Choctaw. I don't really have anybody that we're just like, I want to get in that duel and we want to wrestle them. We just want to beat everybody. We want to win every duel. We want to win every match, and that's our mentality going into all of them. And I think that's the only thing that's a little different this year is, well, for me at least. Last year when we were going into it, the only duel that I was real concerned about was BA, and we didn't even think about Choctaw then, and that was maybe something we should have. I honestly kind of underestimated them, especially after Perry when they beat us at Perry and we were missing a lot of football players, and I kind of used that as an excuse. I thought, well, we're missing 4 starters. It's going to be a little different, and it ended up not being. So that's why that's the only team that I'm concerned about. And since we don't duel them, the duel season for me isn't as important, I guess. It still is, but it's still like what with BA isn't. We match up, I think, really well against BA, and Stillwater, they just got a couple guys that we got to get some key wins, including me. I got to get a little revenge on that after KCI. So that's what I'm probably concerned about going into the dual season.
What do you think, Daton?
Yeah, I mean, our dual season, we don't really see any. BA is really the toughest duel we'll have this year, and it's always fun to beat those guys because
for sure.
Sure. Because they're kind of they've
Yeah.
always been, as far as wrestling goes, they've been top dog. They've won a lot of state championships. You mentioned football players at the beginning of the season. Kelly and I have talked about, it seems like the football guys seem to be in shape a little bit better this year from what I've seen, especially Peyton Scott, Delvin Jordan. I know that there are a couple of weights that you haven't settled in on yet, some of the bigger weights. Talk a little bit about the football guys this year, because it seems like, again, from my perspective, like they came in just a little bit more in wrestling shape than in years past.
Well, yeah, I'll just, I'll come out and say it.
Sure.
Last year I felt like these guys had worked so hard, for 8 weeks, and they're just going at it every day, and we've set these high standards and these high goals. And I really felt like when some of those guys came over there last year that they kind of came in and said, hey, we need a couple weeks off and we're going to do this. And
It was a mindset thing for sure.
And it really let the air out of our room to start. These guys are chomping at the bit. They're ready to go. And these guys come in, we're thinking, man, they're here. We're going to do it. Here we go. And they're just I didn't feel like they came in with the right attitude at all. And this year, I'm really proud of those guys that came in there. I mean, they came in and I gave them Thanksgiving off 4 days, and when they came in on Monday, they were all ready to go, and they're working. I mean, Delvin Jordan's working harder than I've ever seen him work.
For sure.
Peyton Scott going out and winning the Kansas City tournament just a few weeks in the room was huge for his confidence. But the crazy thing is he thinks he needs confidence. I'm not sure why he thinks that sometimes, because he's one of the most athletic and better wrestlers in our room by far. So very proud of this group, how they came in, and they knew. They know what our goals are, and they know we came up short last year, and they know some things happened that helped that happen, and we're going to right the ship, and we're going to go see what we can do this season.
Well, and some people could make the argument, last year the football team went to the state finals, and maybe that's why. But when you really sit down and think about it, they made it to the semifinals this year, so you just add one more week.
Yes.
But it seems like those guys were more focused and more ready, like you said. So, I mean, last year, it was last year, and it seems like this team really has, like they're really focused. And it seems like the guys that might not have been in shape last year, they're seeing the big picture.
Yeah, kind of what you touched on earlier when you were talking what's it like to coach family with me and Beau, that I think what's different about wrestling than other sports, we've got, 4 or 5 different personalities in there as coaches, and I think what makes wrestling unique is if you don't completely agree with one personality or you just don't connect, and that happens sometimes with kids. We've got a coach on our staff, and that's where I've been just incredibly blessed with our administration and everyone making sure that we've got the right people in there. And I don't have a coach on my staff that can't connect with the kids in our room. So, when Beau talked about it, he's been family with all his coaches. I think wrestling, that's what makes it a special sport because, these guys, it's not, whether you're starving, whether you've just gave it everything you got and it didn't go your way, whether you're just having a rough period, we don't have a coach on this staff that hasn't been through that. And it's been fun for me, to have all the help I have to sit back and watch some of that play out with these guys. So I think our coaching staff, those guys do a great job, and I think that's a big part of the success of these guys also.
Well, like you said, it is kind of a brotherhood, a family of sorts with wrestling, and so in that there's a lot of travel together and a lot of time in hotel rooms, and I know that there's a lot of focus, but there's also some playtime. Okay, tell me some of the fun memories, some stories we can share publicly about maybe a prank or something that you remember, some funny stuff, just to kind of give some insight into what goes on.
I'll let these guys come up with something on them. I've got, I can go all the way back to when I was wrestling in junior high for Bill Hudson, who's our head baseball coach now. And he has us outside the rooms at Perry, and they used to tape the door, which we knew all the tricks that they had. It wasn't. But
to see if you guys left during the night. Okay, yeah.
Looking back, I'm thinking, where were we going to go in Perry, Oklahoma? Now they have a Subway, so I guess we could have snuck down there. But Coach Hudson gave us this long speech on how you act and what you do and know how to act in public and all the things he should have said and all the things I still say to these guys. But I was rooming with him, and the second he shut that door after telling us not to jump on the beds, not to do all this, he took off running, jumped on one bed, did a one flip, landed, and almost busted through the wall on the other side. So I can think of hundreds of those stories. You talk about the travel in college of the guys that I'll never forget some of the stories of those guys in vans and all the things that we shared. So yeah, there's a lot of fun pranks that I couldn't tell you about college, but these guys, I'm sure, have a few through the years with us.
I want to know from them. I want to hear.
I want to hear it.
You got it, dude. You want to tell us your story?
Actually, in KCI, Delvin brought his PS4. So we were playing video games and
Little 2K.
we were playing NBA 2K. So we were playing basketball, and me and Delvin were playing. And I beat him twice before, and I beat him by 21 both times. So if you get up by 21,
It's a dub.
game's
Game
over.
over.
and so
Dub him. It's over.
there was only 2 beds in the room,
And
it
they
was
were
me.
not. They were some small
Yeah,
beds.
really small
That
beds,
was,
so-
we don't know why, but they didn't have. They weren't like queens. They were like fulls. And somehow we got it split up where it was just me, Daton, and Delvin. So we had to figure out who was sleeping with who because someone got out of their own bed.
So it's 2K to win, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so me and Delvin, we were playing 2K, and he actually got up by 19 on me. So he needed one more basket to beat me by 21. It would have been over. And then I came back and actually beat him by 7. So I got
I
my
had to
bed.
sleep with Delvin. That's how that works. I remember I slept so bad that first night. I said, and he was kind of thinking, he was like, man, I don't really want to sleep with him because it was so small. You had to lay on your back the whole time and you couldn't move you're touching the dude like it's Delvin's a 220
You
pound
weren't
beast.
in bed
you know?
with a normal size bed.
Yeah,
No, and
he's a big dude.
I mean, his feet hang off the edge, and I was like, oh man, I did not want to sleep with him. And he was kind of sitting in this chair, and I don't know if he was thinking about how he managed to get beat or what, because he was. I
was
thought
reflecting.
it was over because that was the deal. If he won, he had to sleep. For some reason he didn't care whatever happened. But he said if he won, he had to sleep with Daton, and if Daton won, then Delvin had to sleep with me. So Delvin really didn't lose either way. But that's somehow that's how it ended up going. So I'm kind of like secretly rooting for Delvin. He's up by 19. I'm like, yes, get in my own bed tonight. It's gonna be nice. I'm gonna sleep good. And then Delvin was playing as the Thunder and fouled out with Russell Westbrook. And
yeah.
it was game
It's
over.
over.
Dayton just started running it on him, and that's how that worked. Well, Delvin was sitting there, and I said, hey, Delvin, how much for you to sleep on the floor tonight? He said $10. I gave him $10 and he slept on the floor. He crawled in bed with me about 5 a.m. It got kind of cold, but I was cold too, so it was all right at that point.
All right, you want to know how these two guys, I just realized, are probably the smartest two guys on my team?
How's that?
Because when I was growing up, I would have had wrestle-offs. We had to wrestle off with
yeah.
those. They found a way not to have to wrestle Delvin
Well,
Jordan.
he would win. Dayton said you'll go takedowns for it.
Yeah.
Both of us said,
Oh, I'm
let's
sure
play
you
2K.
would,
Yeah.
but I would have played 2K with him also.
We had other ways to figure out who got the bed.
Yeah.
But,
Hey, Zane and Mathis and all them went ahead and did that, and then Zane hurt his rib
Yeah,
again. He
Zane's
said-
hurt again. There's
Zane's hurt
another
again.
3 weeks.
Jeez. And I'm sure you told him not to do that.
Yeah,
kind of
Zane's
stuff.
not supposed to be doing anything. I should have left him at home.
Kelly, a little personal thing here.
Sure.
Bigfoot.
Oh,
It's
wow.
kind of
I
a-
knew he was gonna get brought up.
You know,
I
it
had
has
to.
to.
Bigfoot always show up
You
to
know,
haunt me.
Well, that's the thing is what is it about Bigfoot? I mean, I know you believe, right? You believe?
I believe a little bit. Yeah. I like to believe.
You like
I
to
think he's
believe?
an enthusiast.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
like the thought of it.
yeah. What is it that intrigues you so much, or is it just
You
scare
know what?
you? What is
Because
it?
I think in daylight, and wrestlers are a lot. Not that I'm not scared of anything. Obviously, wrestlers are told their whole lives that we're not. You know, you do this, you do that. We're not scared of anyone. We don't take this or that. But you know, I also deer hunt a lot. And it's amazing in the daylight how tough I am. And when those lights go out, I'm scared of everything. It's unbelievable. I literally, every noise I make walking the woods, I know something's looking at me, and it just.
Hey, not even in the woods too.
No,
Dixie's
yeah,
house.
yeah, it's haunted though. That's a different deal. You know, I had a buddy growing up that tells this story about the Comanche Mountains, and he was deer hunting, and he swears, and when he tells the story, the hair on his arms stand up. I mean, he tells the story real well. So yeah, I've joked off and on about Bigfoot for years. I like the thought of it. Am I positive he's out there? No, probably not. But I think sometimes when I'm going deer hunting, he's probably watching. Yeah.
I would not want to wrestle Bigfoot.
No.
If that,
Rumor is that Bigfoot's been hiding ever since he cut Daton Fix off at an intersection. So I don't know if that's true or not, but we haven't seen any side of him since.
Been a while.
so
Yeah.
you've never seen a Bigfoot.
Any sign of him? No.
It's just something that.
He's watching me.
All right.
Even in his class, he has when the first assignment of the year, he'll have you do this like personal thing, and one of the questions is like you answer questions about yourself, and you have to read them out to the class. Well, one of the questions is, what would you do if Bigfoot walked into your living room?
So,
I'm
He's-
taking a
he's-
selfie
so
with
on
him.
that, okay, it's Christmas time and talking about believing. So, when did you stop believing in Santa Claus, Beau, Dayton?
What if
I
they
still
haven't?
believe.
Well, I
What
don't
are you
know.
talking
I
about?
may
You
have-
took a big
What do you mean?
risk.
Ruined it right
You took
there.
a big
Yeah,
chance right
I
there,
felt
Rusty.
confident. I felt
Don't
confident.
show this to your kids.
I really don't even remember when I don't even remember. I don't think there was ever any like shocking moment. Like I never walked in on my mom sitting the presents
I-
underneath the tree and was.
I
like,
know
"What
some
are you
stuff
doing?" But not that I can remember at least, but. I don't remember any defining moment. It just happened over the years, and had to keep it quiet because I had 2 younger brothers. So
Because you had to pretend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it's still like that in my house. 'cause I
Still
have-
pretending.
Yeah, I have
Right,
two
right.
two younger.
So what about
siblings,
for you
so.
though? When was it? That
It
you
was
kinda
never really. I was kind of the same as Beau. It
Yeah.
just kind of happened.
just
Oh my
kinda-
gosh, I was like in the 6th grade, I think.
Dude, I was 5 years old, and my mom hid we were at my grandma's house, hid the presents under the bed in the room that I was sleeping in. And so
What?
walks in the room, and they're getting under the bed, and I just watch them do it all. 5 years old, I didn't get to believe for.
That's horrible.
That's no
See,
fun.
I had an older brother, and I think I was like in the 5th grade or something. And when we were talking, and he was like, "There's no such thing as Santa."
Oh no.
And he's like 3 years older than me, so I was like, "Of course." I'm like,
You had to play it.
so I had to play it off, but like it just, it ripped my heart out.
Did you just compare Bigfoot to Santa Claus? That's where I'm
I mean
off
it.
here. Are you saying there's no Bigfoot? Because we were talking. Okay, I'm just checking because I love you, Rusty. We're close, but you're not going to just throw out Santa
You can't
Claus.
dog Bigfoot like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, come on.
Okay, I got a question. Something that's really big in wrestling as far as strategy goes: forfeits. When I first started covering wrestling, I knew a little bit about it, and then I would see coaches take forfeits at certain weights, but then I would see guys that were that weight. It's a big part of the sport because it happens a lot. I wouldn't say it happens in every duel, but there are some people that are just like, why don't they throw someone out there? And if that kid loses, they give up 3 points instead of 6. Talk a little bit about just the strategy behind it.
Yeah, you know what? There's two strategies behind it. One is, why has Daton Fix not gotten forfeited to 1,000 more times than he has? The
I'd
reason
forfeit to him.
the reason that is
I would
is
forfeit. I weigh
because
250.
Daton is not physically trying to hurt anyone. He's going to take you down several times, and then he's going to pin you. It's match over. They're not worried about hurting someone. Or you're talking momentum in a duel, and you know that you have someone that definitely is going to get in trouble out there. Just to forfeit to him takes away that win. And Beau and Daton seeing their teammate get pinned in 25 seconds out there doesn't do a whole lot for the rest of the duel. So momentum's a swing in it. And then, if I have a kid that I feel like's going to try and hurt my kid, and he's superior to the kid I'm putting out there, I'm not going to risk that kid.
Sure. Okay.
Dayton, I hear that you like freestyle.
Yeah, I love freestyle.
So can you freestyle for us real quick?
Eminem.
DJ G6 on the bars. Let's go.
Now wait a minute. You asked Sidney Pennington to sing.
Yeah.
Sidney
and-
Pennington sang on here?
Dude,
You didn't listen
hear
to
that?
it,
No, I didn't
man.
hear it.
When you
She
go
told me
home,
about it.
you
Listen,
gotta
it's
listen
good.
to it because it's one of the funniest. Her and Jess together.
I was with her before this, and she was singing, and then
Oh
she
my
was telling me
gosh.
about. She didn't tell me she sang on
man.
here though.
I'm telling you.
I didn't want to listen to it again, so I don't know if I'll look it up. But
Yes. Hey, we didn't want to listen to it either.
So freestyle? No? Yeah.
If I had a beat, I would, but
Okay,
I don't think we
Beau?
need a beat in here.
Bro, drop the beats. Right?
He's
I,
like,
I can't sell out a teammate like that.
I like Jess sold her out.
Oh, I
Jess
bet
is
she
like,
did.
start singing, Sydney. Okay, you want to do some wrestling trivia?
We can do wrestling trivia.
All right.
Oh man.
Okay,
This got serious.
this is just Sand Springs wrestling trivia. Okay, you've got the
Yeah, I'll go first. Dayton, what year did the Sandites win a wrestling state title?
Oh,
Yeah, we have.
we've won. We've won. I
didn't.
think it was like.
Whatever year Luce was born. No, I'm just kidding.
I was thinking like 73. Was it
You're close, man. You're
Yeah.
really close. 1971.
71? I knew it was in the
That was
70s.
I didn't know
good.
that.
I knew it was
thought
early
saying
70s.
No.
Yeah, now you know. Now you know.
That was a trick
Um,
question.
okay, Beau.
I couldn't tell you when we
What?
were going the next one.
And what current Sand Springs coach, not a wrestling coach, was on that wrestling team?
Wait, he's not a wrestling coach?
He's not a wrestling coach.
Is it Luce? No, really? It's Luce? Is it Ronnie Luce?
Was he?
Why are you
No,
looking at me like, no way?
Non-wrestling
Every
coach.
second.
That guy's
He's a coach in Sand Springs, but not a wrestling coach.
Oh, okay.
Hudson.
There you go.
That is correct. How did you do that? Oh my God!
We didn't hear that.
I was about to pass, but
He's always coaching. He's always
I gotta
coaching.
help him. He's family.
Dayton, 1992. Long
Long
freaking
time ago. Yeah.
Coach Kelly Smith qualified for the state tournament. How did he place?
Oh, I know that one, man.
You get second?
Ding.
He got second. That is correct.
I got beat by Daton Fix.
Okay. This one is for Kelly. How many wrestling state titles did Brett Pennington win?
Brett won 2.
That is correct.
I was there.
That's right. You were there. Yeah.
That's like asking me
You
how
saw
many
both
Dayton
of them.
Fix
I
won.
still had to think about it because I thought as a sophomore, I knew as a freshman he was there, but I couldn't remember.
Now, I think he took second
Yeah.
one year. And yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Beau. Coach Smith qualified for state for his junior and senior years. What weight classes did he wrestle?
Were the weight classes, they were slightly different.
They were
though,
different.
A little different.
They were different.
I don't know the difference. Was it, I know one was in the 150s, right? Or was
Don't
it
look at me. I'm
141?
trying to remember.
I know,
Too.
I'll say, man, I don't know the weight. 142, maybe? I don't know.
48.
48.
I was going to say
48.
47.
Not
I didn't know
48
the
and
weight.
57.
57.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
57.
it
I'll
was
give him
57.
half.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
giving
I'll give him
half
half.
I was going to
half
say
a point.
57, and then he gave me the numbers with his fingers, and he was wrong about his
I
own
was
weight.
wrong
So
about my own
that
weight.
threw me off.
Okay. Dayton. Brett Pennington was 32-0 his senior year. How many were by pin?
26.
That is correct.
Did you know that?
How
or
did you
guess
know that?
He's
I
trying to
didn't
beat it.
know
He was
that. I didn't
checking
know
it.
that.
He looked it up.
He wins at everything.
Beau, what current football coach won a state wrestling title in 1988?
Jay Fleshman.
You got it.
That is correct.
That's
I
too
still
easy.
hear about. No, I'm just kidding.
He had his medal on yesterday. That's
He's still
Nice. That
And
is
the
awesome.
singlet now. Yeah.
Was he polished? He just
Those
polished
were
it?
called tights back then.
Yeah.
Okay, Daton. Who answered the last one? Did Beau answer the last
Yeah,
one?
I
or
answered
Daton?
the last one.
Okay, Daton. What former wrestler is the only 4-time placer at Sand Springs?
Cody Carstead.
That is correct. Now,
know
is
that?
that right? Because
Yes.
as of last year, that's what we found.
Yes, I believe it is. I know David McGuire was. They didn't have. He couldn't go
Because
Yes.
freshmen couldn't
Yeah.
wrestle back then. Yeah. Awesome.
Good thing they can now.
So
Yeah.
let's talk about this real quick. A couple
I'm
questions
glad.
before we go to. We're gonna do some like a speed round in a second, but before we do that, favorite tournament to wrestle and why?
State tournament.
Nice.
Because I mean,
It's state.
yeah, it's state.
Okay, let's go
Yeah.
outside of state because that's a given.
I'm a fan of the Kansas City Stampede.
Like-
I'm
just
not.
'cause-
I'm not.
A lot of our guys weren't. Yeah.
I think I like the Perry tournament.
If
a
you
lot.
had bigger beds, you would be okay.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
would. That's
That's the
right.
problem.
That's right. I mean, I like the Perry tournament. The only thing about it is you just sit around a lot, but it's a different kind of atmosphere because it's such a tradition there. You know, I mean, especially when you're wrestling there and you have a Perry kid or there's a Perry kid wrestling. I mean, the whole arena shakes whenever he does something good. So that's something that's always been kind of cool because it's just I don't know. They have the light still, and it's
I
pretty
think
fun.
for the non-wrestling people, Hoosiers would come to mind.
Oh,
It really is
wow.
that environment. And
What
one
is
of the-
that? What is that like, and how important is that? Because like you go to state tournament, and Perry has a fourth of the stands
Yeah.
filled, and it's all maroon. And man, I'm telling you, they are loud and proud for Perry wrestling, and that's a little bitty town.
Neat.
And yeah, so what's that? How would that feel if Sandites showed out like that?
I mean, it'd be really fun. I think we still got a great crowd, and we got a. I think the hometown really reps though when we wrestle. I mean, I feel the Ed Doobie is a very fun place to wrestle, and I definitely think it's one of the best in the state. So I'm not knocking on us. I mean, Perry is that's just something they've always had, and it's I haven't seen any teams like that. I mean, a lot of other sports compare, but I think wrestling wise, I think they're ahead of everybody. I mean, they're just it's something special.
crazy
there.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, so Daton, you've had a lot of accolades, a lot of trophies. What's the most meaningful one so far?
Most meaningful one would probably be just the junior world title or the junior world bronze medal I got.
Right on.
Yeah. So I mean, I was really hoping for a gold medal, but I got beat the first round by a guy from Russia, and then I
Those
had to cheer for him
Russians.
actually so he could get in the finals because the way
That's a
the
bad
world's
call.
works. Yeah. No.
I'm gonna say it since
The
he
way-
won't. He's too humble.
He won't say it.
The way the world championships work, if the guy that beats you makes the finals, then you can come back in and wrestle. So
Okay.
I got beat by him, and then I have to cheer for him to get back in the tournament.
Oh,
and then
wow.
He got back in, so I got another chance, and I didn't let that one slip out. So I came back and got third.
Daton has more championship trophies than I have participation trophies. I mean,
They didn't give them out as often back then.
no, they did not. I don't even think they existed back.
No,
We
they
didn't.
didn't.
I played soccer when I was a kid, and I was always on the worst teams. I didn't have any trophies in my bedroom. None. No medals. No nothing. I mean, it was just empty, the trophy shelf. But I got through it.
All right, 10 questions, just kind of a speed round. Just answer quickly. Going with Daton first. Pizza or tacos?
Pizza,
What weapon would you use in a zombie apocalypse?
a bat with barbed wire around it.
Oh, nice. Oh, my
Creative.
God.
I thought
like
he was going
it.
to say high crotch.
Rap or country music?
Rap,
Favorite candy?
sour Skittles.
Me too.
I knew that.
Classic.
Favorite amateur wrestler? Kelly Smith.
John Smith.
All right. Do aliens exist?
No,
Instagram or Twitter?
Instagram,
MMA or WWE?
MMA.
No, WWE. I'm not on that.
What is your McDonald's order?
A 10-piece chicken nugget with a large fry and a M&M McFlurry.
Sounds good. I'm going after this.
Yeah.
Pro football or college football?
Pro football.
All right, Beau, your turn. Running or lifting weights?
Ooh, lifting.
Is Bigfoot real?
Yes.
Good answer.
I had to say it. It's in the
You
family.
just did that for him.
I did it for
That's
him.
nice.
Favorite amateur wrestler?
John Smith.
Dream car?
Ooh, probably a GTR, Nissan GTR.
Favorite teacher?
Currently or all time?
Yep.
Currently, Man, I got a lot of good teachers this year, honestly. I don't know if I could pick one. I'll say Dustin Morrow.
Real or fake Christmas tree?
Fake.
Biggest phobia?
It's probably spiders.
McDonald's or Burger King?
McDonald's, easy.
Worst wrestling injury?
That I've had, or what? Which one? I guess I hyperextended my arm real bad one time, so I guess that.
Superman or Batman?
Batman.
Nice.
Nice.
Okay,
Superman.
I've got to tell you, when we asked Sydney these questions, you know what her biggest phobia was? Cats.
Yeah, I believe.
Yeah, she hates cats.
She's terrified of cats. And I asked her why, and she said they looked like little cougars.
I guess
I mean,
How do you-
that's not wrong.
that's not wrong.
How do you argue with that? I couldn't argue with that.
I'm scared of them now.
I know.
I mean,
I'm terrified.
Now that I have that
wasn't.
image- yeah, I was fine.
They just
before.
look like they're going to reach up and grab you by the
Right?
jugular.
And I really never thought about
carry you
walking
off.
in the dark in the woods until somebody
true.
said
He's
somebody's watching me.
watching.
So really was fine.
Guys, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and I just want to tell everyone that listens to this to come out and watch this team, because I think
Fun
this
to
team, they're an absolute blast to watch, but I think they have everything in place, all the pieces together to win a state title, whether it be dual state or regular state. So good luck with the season, guys,
Thank you.
and we really appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for having
Yep,
us.
thanks
Sure.
for having us.